Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to another series about all my coloring books and all colored pictures. Today's video will be about the most popular artists of coloring books, because in this video I included Hanna Carlson and Maria Trolle. From Maria Trolle I have only 3 her first books, and by Hanna Carlson now I own almost all her books. I decided that I don't want to purchase a book with portrait because it has portraits from other books apart from new one. So let's start from this one. I decided that I don't want to go from Daydreams, Summer Nights, Magical Dawn. I decided that I want to show you this one because now this jewelry box together with Magical Dawn are my favorite books by Hanna Carlson. But it doesn't mean that this book has a lot of colored pictures. If you follow my channel, you probably know that in the very beginning I hadn't colored Hanna Carlson, but that was because I didn't had Prismacolors and I was intimidated by works by other colorists. Then I had period of very active coloring in Hanna Carlson books, and now again in this year I abandoned them. Through the whole year I think that maybe I finished only couple of works, maybe 3-4 finished pictures, and that's all. So a lot of works here will be quite old. Here you have my unfinished work and picture which I definitely don't intend to finish, because I selected this page as a page where I can practice doing dark skin tone. I can't say that I love the initial drawing. I don't like that lady doesn't have any hair. Of course I can edit myself, but I also didn't like that she had a lot of ornaments on her face, and I totally not my thing when ladies have those ornaments. So I tried to mask it, and what can I say? I would say that the dark skin tone isn't that bad. I think that I used mix of pencils from polychromases to Derwent drawings, but I totally hated how even masked ornaments on her face looked. So I decided that I totally don't want to waste my time on this page, so it was my practice picture and I don't think that I want to finish it. Well, let's move to some more interesting pictures here. And this one is definitely nice because I love to color peacocks. I love to color them both in realistic way or in more decorative way, like I did here. Everything here is colored with polychromases. Maybe just couple of pastel pencils from Prismacolor set, probably a little bit here, but mostly polychromases. Even background was made with polychromases. And I decided that in such way, with a lot of gold, I can do something between a real peacock and peacock made from jewelry. This book has a lot of inspiring designs for me, but I totally hate ornaments like this one. Again, when girls have something on their faces. It's also quite an old work, and you can see from shading on the face that I was quite awful at that, but at least I do love this background. I did it using regular and pearlescent watercolors, a lot of gold, a lot of silver, together with various greens. For me, it's a character from Russian fairy tales, which is called Mistress of the Emerald Mountains, and that's what inspired me to do this page, and that's how I selected colors, so you can see a lot of emeralds and a lot of gold here. Now when I look at it, of course I am asking myself why I hadn't created maybe some shoulders for the girl, maybe why I hadn't changed her very strange hairstyle, but still I love it as one of my steps in learning how to color faces. With animals, everything is much easier for me, and I do love this cat. I deliberately made a very soft flowers and background around. I used neon colors. I used a lot of white Posca to get rid of all the lines. I decided to try those strange grey leaves, but I do love how they look together with pastel pink and light salmon colors. So I think that cat is not bad. Let me show you closer. It's beautiful face and I do like its eyes. Very pretty kitty for my taste. Here I tried how to color various types of gold using various pencil brand from Prismacolors to Polychromos and Artisan. Here I have again another peacock. It was my first finished picture in the jewelry box book when I got it. Here I did background using neon colors, then this blue peacock was made with Prismacolors and a lot of white gouache and then touch of black gouache to make feathers more fluffy. I do love how this turquoise green look together with this ultramarine and indigo blue colors and together with lilac and gold. A very nice color combo. I use it a lot, so probably you can see it on my every second picture. Here I was inspired by interesting semi-precious gemstones which I saw on one of the pictures, so I decided to add it here on this interesting background. And I tried to use the same colors here on the beads, on her jewelry, on her earring. And it was again one of my first successful tries how to do black fur without not only using black colors but also adding some additional ones. Probably you can see a little bit of purple, and that was my additional color here apart from gray and black. Another one page where I experimented a lot with the backgrounds using various techniques of mixing together perlache and metal and regular watercolors, so it has different textures on different areas. I don't know, maybe if I would show you closer you will be able to see, but today we have awful weather, it's raining, so it's dark. I use various sources of electric light, but electric light usually it eats colors, so I'm a little bit preoccupied about quality of this video. It was interesting to do all the details. You know that I love to color ravens, so my bird is black, but it also was interesting to do these small glass boxes and glass cone, I don't know, glass dome on top of the golden butterflies, so it was interesting to do. Maybe after doing this video, after watching all those experiments which I used to do in the books by Hannah Carlson, it will help me to return to her books and to color them more frequently. Another page which I did using mixed media technique is this one, because background it's a mix of neon colors, regular watercolors, golden watercolors, and the insects, house and berries. Everything is colored with Prismacolors. I think that yes, it's all for this book. I tried to do something here, but I wasn't happy, and I decided that I don't want to finish it. So not so much to show you, and we will be going to the next book. Okay, maybe let's go to Daydreams. In the very beginning, when I just started my coloring hobby, when I started my channel, of course I watched other colorists when the Dr. Books arrived to the market and it became immediately very popular, but at that moment I didn't know how to purchase books from Book Depository from Amazon, so for some time I only watched videos, and at the moment when I finally purchased it, I already was full of the images by other colorists and I was intimidated to start my own coloring. In this book I have a lot of very old pictures made with budget pencils or made when I tried my various mediums like this one. I already have shown it in the video about my firsts, and it was the first time when I tried to use watercolors for the background. You can see that background is very simple, nothing special, just couple of colors, blue and violet for the background, and then Prismacolors and touch of white gouache paint and pencils. But still, at that moment I was so happy that I discovered this possibility to use watercolors, because I struggled a lot. Here I tried to do some experimenting with the background, but I applied too many layers, so on the step number 2, step number 3 it looked interesting, but I added and added and added different mediums, and in the end it simply looks dirty, so I decided that I don't want to finish it. You know, previously I was nervous about leaving my pages where I wasn't happy with the beginning, but now I feel totally free of such feelings, because our books, they are so huge, and if one page isn't very good, if you are not happy with the process, you can find similar one. You can learn from your mistakes, from your experience, and you can spend your precious time on another page where you will be enjoying your coloring process. So now I am not afraid to decide that I don't want to finish it, and then maybe next start with the same colors, same technique will be more successful. I think that here I tried to do some background using Inktense pencils and I didn't like it. Here I colored with color softs. I even did the whole background with color softs, and after that I realized that no, I don't want to color in such a way. For me, doing background with color softs, it's totally not anti-stress, at least in this book where background is so huge. And after that I decided that I have to save money and to finally purchase Prismacolors, because I really wanted to get the same nice results as I saw in videos by other colorists. Here was more successful attempt to use color softs, and I do like how they behaved on the main image. This time I was more wise, and for the background I used soft pastels. It's very old work. Now, of course, I would get rid of many black lines on the drops, on the mushrooms, but still, it's nice to see it on my progress. And I'm not sure that I want to change it, totally no. Another page where I experimented a lot. I hope that it will be possible to show you with this lightning how shiny is this background. I tried to create impression of the foam on the ocean water, and I spent a lot of time doing this texture. Water itself is blue green and blue and green, and this foam also looks not bad, but then I realized that I'm so tired that I don't want to color the crab. So the main image, and I was totally crazy when I selected this uh, muted purple, pink and light green colors. They look totally not matching the background colors, so part of this page I do love because it helped me a lot to learn about various techniques of a watercolor background, but the central part I still ask myself what I was thinking about. This is one of my this year works, and I am quite proud here because if you're familiar with this image, you probably can see that I tried to change the shape of the fish to make it more realistic, and I used a lot of colors, unusual colors. I layered and layered and layered, but I do love how my fish looks now. And now it's one of my favorite finished works. Again, background is made with pencils, and the only thing which I don't like on this page is that on the background there were a lot of circles. I know that they represent bubbles, but still I really wanted to get rid of them. I covered them with marker, with some pearlescent watercolors, but I still think that they totally mess up the upper part of the background. But at least everything else was very interesting to do, and honestly I do love this page. This was one of my first works after I got Prismacolors, very old, but I immediately started to feel the huge difference which I can get in my colorings using Prismacolors comparing to my previous pencils. Prismacolors is 100% pencils which are, for my technique, I prefer to color quickly without huge layering when pencils are able to blend nicely, and exactly what I did here on this page. A lot of bright colors, so I really enjoyed it. This one also is relatively fresh, so at least I did it in this year, and I do love this page. You know that here I managed to use dark colors and limited amount of colors, which usually I don't manage to do quite often. So this page is nice. I am glad that despite a lot of muted colors, my hair, moon hair, is still the central part of the composition, and I deliberately added this bright central part of the crown. I am glad how this yellow and orange look together with the background colors. So this is another one of my favorite projects from this book. And here I have an old book. I believe that here I used Colleen pencils when I just received them. They were nice, colors were nice, but they were broken constantly, and it frustrated me. I believe that for the leaves probably I also used some color softs, and background is soft pastel. This one is nice because I generally love to color squirrels, and here I managed to do realistic fur on the squirrel, and for the background I used some pearlescent watercolor on top of regular pencils. So on top of Prismacolors I used pearlescent watercolors. I wanted to create effect of the magical mirror. On the frame I practiced a lot how to do realistic gold. I believe that it was one of the first works which I posted on my Patreon page when I just opened it a couple of years ago. So it also give me now a lot of warm feelings. This page also an old one, and I did it with Inktense. Not bad, Inktense were surprisingly good here. I used a lot of this book for some experimenting, for trying pencil combos, for trying various mediums. Another page made before I got Prismacolors with various budget pencils starting from Collins to Faber-Castell Eco, but at least I'm glad with the color combo here. And you know, when I added those tiny leaves on the background, I added them from myself. I don't know why, but I was so proud that I managed to draw something on the coloring page. Now it sounds ridiculous, but at that moment I remember that I really loved this result. Another project which I did immediately after I got Prismacolors. I think that everyone can see that great lavender, lilac, and I think that raspberry colors immediately started to be my favorites in Prismacolor set, and even now I use them almost on each and every pages which I do. The final page here will be this one, and this one I also love. You know that I love all those purple lilac colors, so I use them again, but most of all I was proud that I did this fantasy leaves where I combined grey with peach and golden colors. And I'm glad that I did these muted colors for the background, and flowers and butterflies create quite nice strong contrast between of their rich blue. So another one picture which I do love. Oh no, it's not all. Honestly, I don't remember what I was using here. Maybe Prismacolors or maybe color softs, but I remember that it was old project, nothing else. Now let's move to Summer Nights. I got them together, Summer Nights and Daydreams, and I wasn't sure which one I preferred more. Probably Summer Nights because it doesn't have pictures like, you know, fill it with ornaments or something like this. In the beginning I hadn't colored any portraits, I preferred flowers, small animals and small insects. Here I experimented with background. I do love flowers. It was first time when I tried to mix like red and blue together. I discovered on this page how nicely behave a white Prismacolor pencil on top of all dark colors, on top of blue, on top of violet, on top of black grape. So it was a page of huge discovery for me. But background is strange. I think that I try to show that those stars, they are falling, and mice, they are gathering falling stars, but it wasn't very successful. That's what can I say. Some not very successful experiment on the page which I didn't intend to finish because I hate spiders, so I deliberately selected page which wasn't precious for me. This one I do love, and I know that it became quite popular because I saw a lot of pictures inspired by this one, and I am happy that many persons used my picture as an inspiration. Here I used almost primary colors, blue, red and yellow together. They always look nice, and together with this matte acrylic backgrounds it looks quite interesting. Maybe background doesn't look exactly like I supposed. I don't know what I intended to do, maybe like some stones, but anyway, I still love it, and at that moment the only thing I was thinking is how nice my Prismacolors behaved. A lot of old pictures, but some of them I still love. This one is very simple. I don't know what I was intended to do. probably the only thing which I wanted to do here is to try yellow-red flowers. Then I wasn't particularly inspired to finish, so background looks strange. I added some circles in matching colors around all insects, and also there are drops made from copper acrylic paint. This pheasant I made with color softs. I used here all the color soft shades which I do love, all those loganberry, blackberry, cranberry colors, and some nice blue colors, ochre colors. For the background I did this background using soft pastel and stencils. It still looks better comparing to empty white background, so I do love this idea. Now let me move forward. Oh, this one is a very dear picture for me because it was the first one where I tested Prismacolors. I purchased my first set of 132 and it was my first page here. And my second page and third page also were here. This was, I believe, second and that was third. I realized that I found the love of my life in these pencils. I think that berries are one of my favorite subjects to color in Hannah Carlson books. They always look lovely and they always look quite a very interesting detail on all of the pictures. A lot of pictures which I would like to do in this book, so it doesn't mean that I don't want to color here. Again, I simply don't have enough time, but maybe it would be nice to return to it. This one is a relatively new one. I think that I did it together with that picture with fish from Daydreams. Again, I tried to use some fantasy colors. I didn't want to use brown for the bark or green for the leaves. I tried to stay in the limited color scheme and I tried to show that the source of the light is this magical plant which is shining, so it has light halo around, some sparkles. And of course I tried to do those cute mice, but I can't say that I am happy with their grey fur. I have here a page which I really want to do. Maybe I will put it in my plans for February, I think. Now let's move to seasons. I got seasons when I already felt much more confident in my skills with pencils, with various other mediums. I already used watercolors, I started to use neocolors, so seasons look a little bit more interesting. Here I did these bunnies and probably it was one of my first less and more successful attempts to do bokeh background. Again, I'm not sure if you can see all the details and all the colors, so I still don't have enough patience to do proper backgrounds with pencils, but here I somehow managed to do pencil backgrounds. I think that I used Prismacolors, I think. And here the thing which I tried to change is that these dog roses, they were growing from the backs of the bunnies, and I tried to show that somewhere behind bunnies we have those bushes that they are not growing from their bodies. For me it's a little bit freaky and I wanted to change it. Here I experimented with regular watercolors and fine pearl watercolors. And then flowers simply made with Prismacolors. I think that I do have this tutorial on YouTube. Quite old one, but still I love variety of colors, brightness of colors. Another experiment when I tried to use unusual colors for me for the background, those yellows and greens. I can't say that I do love all the details here, but maybe now I would change her hair in the first way, but still it was a learning process. This one I definitely do love. I really loved the shape of these flowers. They reminded me about chrysanthemum flowers, and I decided to call this picture the House of Golden Chrysanthemums. That's why they are golden, that's why leaves are green ochre, and I think that they look together with this beautiful green and turquoise beetles. The most difficult part was to select color for the butterflies. I did background and it's also shiny with couple of shades of greens. Then I did flowers, I did this house. I think that everyone can recognize a lot of lime peel here. But finally I had to select color for the butterflies. I changed my mind a couple of times, so I put color on the piece of paper, then I put it on the butterfly. I thought about it, then I tried another color, and in such way I selected this way, and I added a lot of white dots to make color slightly lighter. Another page with a lot of various mediums, starting from drawings for the muted colors, then Prismacolors for the gemstones and top parts of the beetles, and background is various shades of regular and metal watercolors. So in real life, this shiny background creates a nice contrast to the waxy surface created by drawings and Prismacolors. Oh, it was one of my first attempts to do bigger sized portrait. I did my first portrait in Hannah Carlson in Magical Dawn, but their face was smaller, and here I tried to learn shading. And apart from the face, everything else here I do love. I do love this decorative crown created from autumn leaves and berries. I love that I selected orange color for her hair because she is in fall part of the book. It was fun to do her jewelry. Again, I freaked a lot when I looked at those mushrooms which were growing from her body, but I tried not to think about it. So still I do love this page. But now I would change a lot of things on here. This one I finished in December, so it's my last finished work in Hannah Carlson, and that's what really helped me to remember how much I miss coloring in Hannah Carlson and how much I enjoyed coloring it. And that was a work from previous winter. I still consider it probably one of my best works in Hannah Carlson books. I love colors which I selected for the background. Everything is colored with Prismacolors. And I do love that I decided to do eyes with blue colors. I think that gray fur, various shades of gray and a little bit of brown looks very nice together with blue. And that's all for this book. And finally, we will go to the final book by Hannah Carlson where I have colored pictures. I do have her Soulmates, and I also purchased Magical Masquerade, but I hadn't colored anything nice in those books. Masquerade I hadn't started at all, and in Soulmates I just started to do one background, so nothing to show you. But Magical Dawn is probably one of my books where I have the biggest amount of colored pictures. I even did background here. Or not background, the name page. Sorry guys, name page isn't very popular for me. Usually I leave them uncolored, but here I loved this design so much, and it was fun to create some texture inside of the book, to select colors according to the names, like rainbow light, like stardust. So I really enjoyed doing this one. Here I used a lot of acrylic paints on the background, pencils on the first layer, then a lot of shiny dots. I call this one like forest enchantress, so that's why it has a lot of green colors. All looks a little bit strange, but I love that they have similar colors in the hair and feathers. Also very old work, but nice to look at. This picture on the left was one of my first attempts to use pencils for the background and to use more dark colors. I thought that blue would look nice together with ochre and dark colors. Well, another one of the old works, but still I love it. This one is one of my nicest works, one of my most creative works, I would say, because I added this Egyptian background and all hieroglyphs. Sorry guys, I always forget how to pronounce them correctly. I know that it's not so different from how we call it in my native language, but you know what I mean. So I draw this background with Prismacolors. I was inspired by carvings in stones found in Egypt temples or Egypt museums. So I looked at various reference pictures. I draw this background myself. For the central part, I was inspired by the jewelry, by the pendant which was found in Tutankhamun tomb, and I saw it myself in Egypt, in Cairo, so it brings me nice memories. I was surprised myself when I finished this background, and it turned exactly what I imagined and what I wanted, how I wanted it to look. Another one, not very successful experiment with watercolor background. The next one is nice. I wasn't very inspired by this design, these very strange things. Maybe they are flowers, maybe they some sea creatures. Anyway, I decided to use totally fantasy colors. I added this small mosaic on the background in matching colors, and I used totally fantasy colors for the flowers and leaves. Another one of the earlier works when I started to do background with pencils, then proceeded with soft pastels. Nothing special here. Well, I started to do this page and I intended to turn it into normal Persian cat, but then I thought that maybe it would be a vampire cat because of the mouth, because of the look of the eyes. So I wasn't able to make final decisions, so for some time I abandoned this one. Another one of the very early works, so I used watercolors, Prismacolors. I decided to do these dark flowers, also it was unusual for me at that time. When I finally found that way of using watercolors, I colored page after page in this book, so a lot of them, a lot of finished pictures here, they are probably 2.5 years old or 2 years old, and at that moment this Magical Dawn was definitely my favorite book, and I did a lot of pictures there. Another one of mixed media projects, I even used color softs here together with Neo colors, and this one I definitely still love, mostly because of the berries and this soft background. That was my first portrait which I did in Hannah's books. I deliberately selected this girl because it's relatively small, but still I managed to create some dirt on her cheeks, on the sides of her face. But I hoped that those beautiful birds with a lot of ornaments, a lot of jewelry, that they will be distracting attention of the viewer from the dirty of her face. The same time picture where I experimented with watercolors, with white gouache. I believe that this was another one of my attempts to do darker skin tone. I used polychromasis, I believe, here. I added some jewelry from myself here on her hair, and I call her Fire Mistress, so I did this fire background and this ruby gemstone. I can't say that I love to color snakes, but here it was fun, and I think that it matches her look. She also has golden eyes and golden makeup. Well, I did this background, and then I think that winter was over, Christmas time was over, and already 2 years it's waiting when I will be able to continue coloring it. This one I do love because background here is crazy. I think that I used almost all my palette and watercolors here, so in the end it's very shiny and it has crazy amount of colors, of sparkles here. But I do think that it looks nice together because it matches colors which we have inside of the bottles, and idea of magical forest, I think that it's very nicely represented here. Here I experimented how to do glass, how to show reflections from bottles, but I know that I made a mistake here because through the bottle on the foreground we can't see part of the bottle which is behind. Well, but I learned my mistake. Another one of the projects which I did combining watercolor and pencils. I do love these portraits. It was a very quick and easy project. First I tried to use some kind of stencil for the ornament on the wallpapers, but it didn't look very accurate, so I simply repeated. I copied myself by hand ornament from stencil here repeatedly. It was tedious, but I do love the final look. Another one of my experiments with this graphic kind of background made with watercolors. A lot of old works here. I even started to forget how much of them I finished here. Here to this Swan constellation I added those stars to make better connections that we have Swan, and I tried to show the same stars which we have on the sky in the constellation of Swan. Again, a lot of colors of watercolor here and matching colors of Prismacolors for the bird. Here I experimented with those petals. All those ornaments on the petals I added from myself. They look strange, like they have some kind of net on the petals, but that's exactly what I wanted to do. Maybe it's some kind of insect-eating flowers, so they don't look very friendly, but it was interesting to do. Again, it's nice to use unusual colors here for the flowers, for the leaves, and I used them a lot. Another one of my first projects which I published on Patreon, the same technique of watercolor, regular and pearlescent, and then Prismacolors. This time I decided to do a very bright makeup because I think that it matched the idea of the peacock feathers. I added a little bit of ornament here to create this impression that she has dress and not tattoo on her body. This one I didn't want to finish. It's not bad, but it's boring, simply boring. This one I do love, even if I experimented too much with the background, and in the end I had to put black paint to mask all my not very successful experiments, but now with black background the central image looks even more spectacular. I added a lot of silver dots here, so in real life it's very shiny. Well, what I used here, another crazy mix of mediums, probably watercolors for the background, and then unusually I used Neocolor crayons for the flowers and maybe even for the wings of the butterfly, and a lot of pearlescent watercolors, maybe 3 layers of them, but at least page is very shiny. For this page I was inspired by traditional colors of the Russian folk art, where they create a wooden tablecraft and they use this color combo of golden, black and red. I do love this classic combo and I wanted to try it for my page also. I still don't love this right top corner, it's black and empty, but I didn't have any idea what I can draw here, so I decided to leave it as it is. This is the spread which I still love and which I still consider as one of my best finished pictures, even if it's old one. Another one of my earlier Patreon tutorials, and it was the first one where I really was very happy with this fur on the cat. I used a lot of colors, a lot of various browns, a lot of various grays, so it was color long, but I still love this result. Let me show you a little bit of details, simply because I love this kitty and I want to share it with you. Let's move. Here I have this, I don't know, flies, but they are too beautiful to be simple flies, and I enjoyed doing this jewelry, those gemstones. Here probably we have poppy, or maybe it's a huge rose, but I simply wanted to try this color combo of muted green, turquoise green with a lot of black and orange red, and I think that they all look nice together. Those flies, they are covered with a lot of small white dots. This fish I do love because it's another of my experiments with watercolor background. Again, let me show you how shiny is this background. I tried to show that she is trying to go outside of the water, that it's half in the water and half on the air. It has silver color, it has golden color, various green blue colors. And then with the Prismacolors of matching colors I did the fish itself. Next will be this page which I deliberately wanted to do in pastel colors. And probably you can recognize here a lot of Neocolor crayons. Pastel Neocolors are my favorites in this set, so I used all of them here for the background, a lot of white to create this mist atmosphere with milky colors. And then I found matching pastel colors and Prismacolor set and finished to do houses and mushrooms. This one is more in my style because all colors are strong. I used my favorites: violet, blue, golden, magenta, lilac. Everything is shiny because of the layer of pearlescent watercolor on top of pencils. So it's a royal family. I imagined that here we have king, queen, and their heir of the throne. Oh, I think that I already need to finish my video because I really start to forget pronunciation and even the simple words. Anyway, I do love this page. Everything is shiny, very royal looking. Now let's move to this page where I experimented with adding some shapes of the flowers on the background. I really wanted to do this portrait because of these very interesting flowers. I love them in real life and I wanted to color them. Well, at that moment I did a very easy, very light shading on the lady's face, but I think that it really matched the idea of this page and with soft colors. And I added various flowers to make background less empty. Another one, portrait with a lot of other bright colors. Again, I was inspired by fire, so background reminded me of fire and I added golden and orange dots with pearlescent watercolors to create some sparkles, and I added them also on the hair. It was difficult to select colors for the jewelry like wings on her crown. It was my last step in the coloring and I am glad that color which I selected. In the same time it doesn't distract attention from the face, and in the same time it created nice focal point here. This background I did when I learned how to use my Neocolor crayons, and I always try to show this page when I do videos about my successful attempts with Neocolor backgrounds. With regular watercolors I would never risk to combine grey with pastel lilac, pastel pink, which I used here, but with Neocolors it was very easy, and I do love how this background looks, especially together with these very bright insects. But for me they are not insects, they are more like jewelry. For this portrait I was inspired by beautiful painting by Catherine Palin. She uses a lot of gold. She usually uses it a lot for the details for the background. So I also decided to do golden background. And she tends to create portraits with unusual hair color, so I copied pink color here also. The portrait on the original page wasn't like this. I added shoulders and part of the dress from myself, and I'm glad that I did it. Then I also added those soft flowers on the background because I was afraid that gold was too strong, and in the end it was a very interesting experience to use colors which are favorite on one of the painters which are interesting for me, and how I try to implement them for my own work. Another one of the pictures which I do love with all my heart. I was surprised myself how nicely it turned. I did this fantasy background first, again with Neocolors and a white paint. Then I started to do fur of the kitten. Everything went well with the head, with the tail. Then fur on the back I had to change a couple of times. I deleted, I colored it again. But now I would say that my angelic kitty looks really nice. Old work, but I still love it so much. I think that everyone can see that blue, turquoise, lilac and purple colors are always my favorites, and you can find them in each and every page. But I would say that this right page is even more interesting because all this background which reminded me about mosaic floor in the Crete palaces, so very ancient mosaics. I did it myself. I did it with watercolors, and I think that I even did it without drawing first with pencils, so it was totally made simply with brush and watercolors. I still don't know how I managed to do it. And it was much more interesting to do than color the shelves themselves. Oh. And finally, this one. It was probably the first time when I discovered that on top of the dark watercolor layer I can use pencils and to create this highlights, to create this effect of the light halo when you use white or pastel colors on top of the dark watercolors, and I used it for creating these melting mosses. They were made from ice, then when they were reaching candles from the heat they started to melt, and that was my idea of this page.